Xavier James had always believed the stars were safe, far away, constant, untouched by cruelty. But Earth was different. On Earth, his brightness made him a target. At Westlake Middle School, surrounded by kids with last names that carried weight and fathers who signed school checks, Xavier's knowledge wasn't admired. It was mocked. It started with whispers in class, fake apologies in hallways, then turned darker. A shattered science project, threats behind the gym, 7 boys in a circle, and one word sprayed across his locker: waste. Xavier thought he was alone. Until one moment changed everything and turned a hunted into the spark that lit a fire no one saw. Hang on a sec before we dive in. Do you usually watch stories like this at night or during a break in your day? Let us know in the comments. This one's got a twist that hits hard, so don't miss it. And hey, if you love stories that stick with you, go ahead and subscribe. Xavier James loved the stars more than anything on Earth. At night, he'd press his face against his bedroom window, naming constellations like old friends. His telescope, a birthday gift from his parents, was his most prized possession. "Mom, did you know some stars we see are already dead?" Xavier asked, not looking up from his astronomy book. "Their light takes millions of years to reach us." His mother smiled sadly. She knew tomorrow would be hard. They had just moved to Oak Ridge, where her new university position meant better opportunities, but also new challenges for her son. "First day at a new school tomorrow," she reminded him gently. "Got everything ready?" Xavier nodded, though his stomach tightened. At his old school in Chicago, being smart was cool. Being black wasn't unusual. Here in Oak Ridge, he'd be different in every way possible. His father noticed his worried face. "Remember what we talked about, son. Your mind is your superpower. They can't take that from you." Xavier nodded again, trying to believe it. Westlake Middle School looked like something from a movie: sprawling green lawns, brick buildings, students in expensive clothes. Xavier clutched his backpack straps tighter as he walked through the front doors. His first few classes went okay. Nobody was mean, but nobody really spoke to him either. It was like being a ghost, present but unseen. Then came science class. "We have a new student today," Ms. Reynolds announced. "Xavier James has joined us from Chicago." 24 pairs of eyes turned to him. Xavier felt his face heat up. "Now, let's continue our discussion on the solar system," Ms. Reynolds said. She pointed to a diagram of planets. "Can anyone tell me why Pluto was reclassified?" Xavier's hand shot up before he could stop himself. Science was his safe place. "Yes, Xavier. Pluto doesn't meet the criteria of a planet. It hasn't cleared the neighborhood around its orbit, and its orbit overlaps with Neptune's," he explained. Ms. Reynolds looked impressed. "That's exactly right." "Very good." From the back of the classroom came a whisper, "Teacher's pet." Xavier's shoulders tensed. He glanced back to see a boy with perfect hair and expensive sneakers watching him with narrowed eyes. That was the first time Xavier noticed Tyler Williams. It wouldn't be the last. Later, in the cafeteria, Xavier sat alone until a lunch tray dropped onto his table. "Mind if I sit?" asked a boy with a camera hanging around his neck. "I'm Marco." Before Xavier could answer, Marco was already sitting. "You're new too." "I started last month." "Gets better." Kind of. Xavier wasn't sure if that was true, but having someone to talk to made the knot in his stomach loosen just a little. What he didn't see was Tyler watching them from across the room, whispering to his friends as they all turned to stare. The stars might have been Xavier's friends, but here on Earth, he had just become a target. 3 weeks into the school year, Xavier started noticing patterns. When he raised his hand in science class, someone would cough the word "show off." When he walked down the hall, shoulders would bump into his, followed by fake apologies. "Sorry, didn't see you there," Tyler would say, his friends snickering behind him. But Xavier kept his head down. His father's words echoed in his mind: "Don't give them power over you." Everything changed the day Ms. Reynolds announced the science fair. "This year's winner will represent Westlake at the state competition," she said excitedly. "The state winner gets a tour of NASA's facility in Houston." Xavier's heart leaped. NASA. His dream. He already knew what his project would be: a model showing how black holes distort spacetime. After class, Ms. Reynolds stopped him. "Xavier, with your knowledge, you have a real shot at winning. I'm excited to see what you create." Tyler was walking past just then. His eyes narrowed. That afternoon in the hallway, Xavier felt a hard shove from behind. His books scattered across the floor. When he bent to pick them up, a foot stepped on his hand. "Planning your science fair project, Space Boy?" Tyler loomed over him. 6 boys flanked him like bodyguards. "Better be careful. Accidents happen all the time." Xavier pulled his hand free, heart pounding. "Leave me alone, Tyler." "Or what?" Tyler leaned closer. "Going to call your mommy." "Oh, wait, she's too busy being important at the university to care about you." How did Tyler know about his mom? Xavier's throat tightened. "My dad says they only hired her to look diverse in photos," Tyler continued. The other boys laughed. Xavier felt sick. He'd heard comments like this before, but never so direct, never so personal. Marco appeared beside him suddenly. "Hey, Xavier, Miss Patel's looking for you." Something about extra credit. It wasn't true, but it gave Xavier an excuse to escape. As they walked away, Marco whispered, "Those guys are toxic. Especially Tyler. His dad's head of the school board. That explains why he acts untouchable," Xavier said. "He practically is," Marco replied grimly. "Last year, he put gum in a girl's hair. Nothing happened to him." That night, Xavier worked on his science project in the garage. The model was taking shape, a beautiful representation of gravitational lensing around a black hole. His phone pinged with a notification. Someone had added him to a group chat. "Unknown number. Welcome, Space Boy, unknown number. We're watching you, unknown number. NASA will never let someone like you in anyway." Xavier dropped his phone like it had burned him. The messages kept coming, each one worse than the last. He couldn't tell his parents. His mom was already stressed about being one of few black professors at the university. His dad would want to confront the school, which would only make things worse. For the first time since moving to Oak Ridge, Xavier cried himself to sleep, his beloved stars offering no comfort through his bedroom window. The next morning, someone had written "space waste" on his locker. The war had begun. Every day brought new torments. Tyler and his friends had turned bullying Xavier into their favorite sport. In the cafeteria, they'd accidentally spill milk on his books. In gym class, he became the target during dodgeball. Online, the messages grew meaner. Someone created a fake profile with his name, posting embarrassing content. "You should tell someone," Marco urged as they sat in the library. Marco had become Xavier's only friend, documenting the bullying through his camera when he could. "Tell who?" Xavier's voice cracked. "The teachers see it happening and look away. The principal plays golf with Tyler's dad." Marco frowned. "Then we need evidence nobody can ignore." Xavier shook his head. "It'll just get worse." And it did get worse. Much worse. 2 days before the science fair, Xavier stayed late to finish his project. His model was beautiful, a clear acrylic sphere with lights showing how gravity bends spacetime. Ms. Reynolds had let him store it in her classroom for safekeeping. As he approached the science room, he heard voices inside. "Hurry up before someone comes." Xavier froze. He recognized Tyler's voice. Through the door's window, he saw horror unfolding. Tyler and 3 friends were destroying his project. One boy poured water on the electrical components while another snapped the support beams. Tyler filmed it all laughing. "Oops. Looks like Space Boy had an accident." Tyler cackled. Something in Xavier snapped. 3 weeks of fear transformed into white-hot anger. He pushed open the door. "Stop," he shouted. The boys turned, momentarily surprised. Then Tyler smiled. "Well, look who's here." The astronaut himself. Xavier lunged for his project, but 2 boys grabbed his arms. He struggled against them as Tyler picked up the remains of the model. "Guess you won't be going to NASA after all," Tyler said, dropping what was left onto the floor and crushing it under his expensive shoe. Tears burned in Xavier's eyes, but he refused to let them fall. "Why? Why me? What did I ever do to you?" Tyler leaned in close. You exist. You come here thinking you're special, thinking you're smart. But this is our school. You don't belong here. The words hit harder than any physical blow. Xavier stopped struggling. Ms. Reynolds will know it was you, Xavier said quietly. Tyler laughed. No, she'll know you got careless. And even if she suspects, what's she going to do? My dad signs her paychecks. They finally released him, shoving him toward the door. Better start over, space boy. Fair's in 2 days. Tick-tock. Xavier stumbled home, heart shattered. His dream of NASA felt as distant as the stars themselves. That night, he told his parents everything. His father wanted to call the police. His mother wanted to march into the principal's office. No, Xavier said firmly. If you fight my battles, it proves Tyler right, that I don't belong, that I need special help. But son, this isn't right, his father argued. Xavier looked out at the night sky. I need to handle this my way. But he had no idea what that way would be, until the next day, when things would go from bad to unimaginable. The next morning, Xavier arrived early to rebuild his project. It wouldn't be as good as the original, but it would be something. Ms. Reynolds found him working frantically. Xavier. What happened? She asked, seeing the damaged remains of his original model. Accident, he mumbled, not meeting her eyes. She knelt beside him. Xavier, if someone did this. I said it was an accident. His voice came out sharper than intended. Ms. Reynolds looked hurt but nodded slowly. Let me know if you need help. Xavier worked through lunch, ignoring his growling stomach. He was making progress when his phone buzzed. Unknown number, behind the gym. 3:30. Come alone or we share those fake posts with everyone. His hands trembled. The fake posts were embarrassing pictures Tyler had created with Xavier's face badly photoshopped onto them. They'd already shared them in group chats, but not publicly. Xavier considered ignoring the message. But running away wouldn't end this. Maybe confronting Tyler was the only way. At 3:30, Xavier walked behind the gym, his heart hammering against his ribs. No one seemed to be there. Hey, space boy. The voice came from behind him. Xavier turned to find not just Tyler, but 6 other boys forming a circle around him. His stomach dropped. Thought you were so smart rebuilding your little project, Tyler sneered. But you're not smart enough to stay away when told to. What do you want, Tyler? Xavier tried to keep his voice steady. Want? Tyler stepped closer. I want you to understand your place. My place is right here at this school, same as you, Xavier said. Tyler's face darkened. No, it's not. The first push came from behind. Xavier stumbled forward. Another push from the side sent him off balance. Then another and another. They were treating him like a pinball, shoving him from one boy to the next. Stop. Xavier cried out. Crying already? Tyler mocked, giving him a hard shove. Xavier lost his footing and fell hard onto the dirt. Pain shot through his elbow. The circle tightened, 7 faces looking down at him, laughing. Get up! Tyler yelled, pointing at him while the others jeered. Xavier curled into himself, shielding his face. Everything his parents had taught him about standing tall evaporated in the face of this humiliation. This was it. The moment Xavier realized he truly was alone. No teachers were coming. No friends, except Marco, who wasn't here. No one. Take a picture, Tyler told one of the boys. I want to remember this. I already am. The voice didn't come from the circle. Everyone turned. In the distance stood Marco, his phone clearly pointed at the scene, recording everything. Delete that right now. Tyler shouted. Marco didn't move. I don't think so. Get him. Tyler ordered, and 2 boys broke from the circle. But Marco stood his ground. I've been live streaming for the past 5 minutes. 30 people are watching right now, including Ms. Reynolds. The boys froze, looking uncertainly at Tyler. Panic flashed across Tyler's face. He's bluffing. Want to find out? Marco held up his phone. Because the principal just joined the stream too. Tyler's confidence cracked. This isn't over, he spat, backing away. He gestured for his friends to follow. As they retreated, Marco rushed to Xavier, still huddled on the ground. "Are you okay?" Marco asked, helping him up. Xavier wasn't okay. But for the first time in weeks, he wasn't alone either. What he didn't know was that Marco's live stream claim was a bluff. But the recording, that was very, very real. "I wasn't actually live streaming," Marco admitted as they sat in the school nurse's office. "But I did record everything." Xavier winced as the nurse cleaned the scrape on his elbow. "They'll just deny it. Or say it was a joke." Marco shook his head firmly. "Not this time. This is different." The nurse finished bandaging Xavier's arm. "Principal Whitman wants to see you both," she said, her expression grave. Walking to the principal's office felt like marching to a sentence. Principal Whitman, a tall man with thinning hair and permanent frown lines, waited behind his large desk. "Mr. James, Mr. Reyes," he said stiffly. "I understand there was an altercation." Xavier stared at his shoes. Here it comes, he thought. The dismissal. The victim blaming. Marco spoke up. "It wasn't an altercation, sir. It was assault. 7 against 1. Principal Whitman's frown deepened. "Those are serious accusations. I have proof," Marco said, holding up his phone. The principal looked uncomfortable. "Even so, these matters are complex." "No, they're not," a new voice interrupted. Xavier turned to see Ms. Reynolds standing in the doorway, her face flushed with anger. "These matters are perfectly simple," she continued, stepping into the office. "A student was physically and emotionally abused on school grounds. That's not complex. That's wrong." Principal Whitman cleared his throat. "Ms. Reynolds, this doesn't concern." "It absolutely concerns me." She pulled out her own phone. "Marco sent me the video before you could convince him to delete it. I've already forwarded it to Superintendent Garcia and the rest of the school board." The principal's face paled. "You had no right." "I had every right and responsibility as an educator." Ms. Reynolds cut him off again. She turned to Xavier. "I'm sorry I didn't see what was happening sooner." "That stops today." Xavier couldn't believe what he was hearing. An adult was actually standing up for him. Principal Whitman's phone rang. He answered it, his expression changing from confident to concerned in seconds. "Yes, Superintendent. Yes, I've just been informed." Of course, immediately, when he hung up, his demeanor had completely changed. "The superintendent wants Tyler and the others in my office immediately," he said, not meeting anyone's eyes. "And she'd like Xavier's parents to be called." Ms. Reynolds nodded. "I'll call them myself." As Principal Whitman left to summon the boys, Marco nudged Xavier. "See? Told you it would be different this time." Xavier wasn't convinced. Tyler's dad is on the school board. He'll find a way to make this disappear. Ms. Reynolds overheard. "Not this time, Xavier. Mr. Williams may be on the board, but he's only one vote. And he's not here today. He's at a conference in Denver." For the first time, a tiny spark of hope flickered in Xavier's chest. Within an hour, the principal's office was crowded. Xavier's parents had arrived, their faces tight with controlled rage. Tyler and his friends sat in a row of chairs, no longer looking smug. Superintendent Garcia, a formidable woman with steel gray hair, addressed the room after watching the video. "In 30 years of education, I have rarely seen such disgusting behavior," she said, her voice ice cold. "This school has failed Xavier James. That failure ends today." She turned to Tyler. "Mr. Williams, you and your friends are suspended pending a full investigation. The school board will determine if expulsion is warranted." Tyler's mouth fell open. "But my dad is one member of a 7-person board that I oversee," she finished for him. "And when he sees this video, I suspect even he will be ashamed." As Tyler and the others were let out, Xavier realized something had fundamentally changed. The balance of power had shifted. But this wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of something much bigger. Word spread through Westlake Middle School like wildfire. By the next morning, everyone knew about the video, the suspensions, and how Marco and Ms. Reynolds had stood up to the principal. Xavier expected things to get worse. Instead, something unexpected happened. "Is this seat taken?" He looked up to see a girl from his English class standing by his lunch table. Behind her were two other students he recognized but had never spoken to. No, Xavier replied, confused. They sat down, introducing themselves properly for the first time. More students joined, until Xavier and Marco found themselves at the center of a full table. "Tyler pushed my sister down the stairs last year," one boy confided. "Nothing happened to him. They destroyed my art project because I got the lead in the school play instead of Tyler's girlfriend," added another. Story after story emerged. Xavier realized he hadn't been Tyler's only target, just his most recent one. Meanwhile, the suspensions triggered a chain reaction beyond the school. Local news picked up the story after Marco's video leaked online. Reporters gathered outside Westlake, asking questions about bullying policies and administrative accountability. Xavier's mother, a force of nature when angry, organized a meeting with other parents whose children had been bullied. His father, with his quiet determination, researched legal precedents for school negligence. 3 days after the incident, Xavier's parents sat him down at their kitchen table. The superintendent called, his mother said. "The school board is holding an emergency meeting tomorrow night. They want you to speak." Xavier's stomach clenched. "Speak? About what happened?" "About all of it," his father explained. "The daily harassment, the destroyed project, the physical assault. They need to hear it directly from you." Xavier shook his head. "I can't. Everyone will be watching." His mother took his hand. "That's exactly why you must speak. Not just for yourself, but for everyone who's been silenced." That night, Xavier couldn't sleep. He stood at his window, looking at the stars that had always comforted him. Distant light traveling through darkness, persisting despite impossible odds. His phone lit up with a text from Marco. "Whatever you decide about tomorrow, I'm with you." Another text arrived from a number he didn't recognize. "Thank you for being brave. Tyler stole my lunch money all last year." Ellie from math. Then another. "My brother was bullied so bad by Tyler he switched schools. You're standing up for him too." Message after message came in from students he'd never spoken to, sharing their stories, offering support. Xavier realized something profound. His voice wasn't just his own. It carried the weight of countless unheard stories. The next morning, he found Ms. Reynolds in her classroom. "I'm going to speak at the meeting," he told her. "But I need help organizing my thoughts." She smiled proudly. "Let's work on it together." They spent lunch period crafting his speech, focusing not on revenge or punishment, but on change, real, lasting change. As school ended that day, Xavier passed Tyler's empty locker. Someone had taped a note to it that simply read, "The reign of terror is over." Was it really over, though? Xavier wondered as he walked home. Or was this just a temporary victory before things returned to normal? The school board meeting would reveal which way the winds were truly blowing and whether one boy's voice could actually make a difference. The school board meeting was scheduled for 7 p.m. in the Westlake auditorium. By 6:30, every seat was filled. Xavier peeked through the curtains backstage, his heart racing at the sight of so many people. Parents, teachers, students, reporters, all there because of what had happened to him. Nervous, Marco asked, joining him. Xavier nodded. "What if I mess up? What if Tyler's dad twists everything?" "Then we have the video," Marco reminded him. Facts don't lie. The meeting began with Superintendent Garcia outlining the incident. The school board members sat at a long table on stage, 5 women and 2 men, including Mr. Williams, who had returned from his trip and looked decidedly uncomfortable. "Before we deliberate on appropriate disciplinary and policy actions," the superintendent said, "we will hear from the student directly affected." Xavier James. Xavier's legs felt like lead as he walked to the podium. The bright lights made it hard to see faces, but he could feel hundreds of eyes on him. He unfolded his prepared speech with trembling hands. "My name is Xavier James," he began, his voice barely audible. He cleared his throat and tried again. 3 months ago, I moved to Oak Ridge. I was excited about the excellent science program at Westlake. I dreamed of NASA, of studying the stars. As he spoke, his voice grew stronger. He described the escalating bullying, the destroyed project, and finally, the physical assault. "But this isn't just about me," Xavier continued. "Since the video came out, dozens of students have shared their stories with me. Tyler and his friends have been tormenting people for years. The question isn't why they did this to me. The question is, why was it allowed to continue for so long?" Murmurs rippled through the audience. Teachers saw it happening. Students saw it happening. Everyone knew. Xavier looked directly at the school board. The adults who were supposed to protect us looked the other way because of who Tyler's father is. Mr. Williams shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "I don't want revenge," Xavier said firmly. "I want change. I want Westlake to be a place where students feel safe, where bullying isn't tolerated, no matter who your parents are, where kids like me don't have to choose between education and dignity." The audience erupted in applause when he finished. Xavier returned to his seat beside his parents, his legs wobbly, but his heart lighter. What happened next shocked everyone. Mr. Williams approached the podium. "As a board member, I should recuse myself from this discussion," he began stiffly. "But as a father, I cannot remain silent." The room grew so quiet you could hear the air conditioning hum. "I've watched the video of my son's behavior," Mr. Williams continued, his voice cracking. "I am deeply ashamed. Somewhere along the way, I failed as a parent. I taught Tyler that his position and privilege put him above rules, above decency." He turned to look directly at Xavier and his family. "I offer no excuses for my son's behavior. Only my profound apology to Xavier, to his family, and to every student who has suffered because of the culture I helped create at this school." Gasps echoed through the auditorium. Nobody had expected this. "I am resigning from the school board, effective immediately," Mr. Williams finished. "This school deserves leadership that values all students equally." As he stepped away from the podium, the audience sat in stunned silence. The remaining board members exchanged glances before the chairwoman spoke. "In light of these events, we will be implementing a comprehensive anti-bullying program with clear reporting procedures and consequences. The students involved will face appropriate disciplinary action." It was happening. Real change was happening because Xavier had found the courage to speak. As the meeting adjourned, students surrounded Xavier, thanking him, sharing more stories. For the first time since arriving at Westlake, he felt like he belonged. But the story wasn't over yet. The hardest part still lay ahead, facing Tyler and the others when they eventually returned to school. 2 weeks passed. The suspended students, including Tyler, would return to school the following Monday. Xavier dreaded it. Despite the policy changes and public support, he feared retaliation. What if Tyler was even angrier now? What if he blamed Xavier for his father's resignation? The Sunday before their return, Xavier's doorbell rang. When he opened the door, he froze. Tyler Williams stood on his porch alone. "Before you close the door," Tyler said quickly, "I just want to talk." 5 minutes. Xavier's parents appeared behind him. His father's expression hardened. "Why should we let you anywhere near our son?" he demanded. Tyler looked smaller somehow, less intimidating without his friends around him. "Because I need to apologize," he said quietly. "Not through my dad, not through the school. Face to face." After a tense discussion, Xavier's parents allowed Tyler into their living room but stayed close. "I've been seeing a therapist," Tyler began awkwardly. "Part of my rehabilitation program before I can return to school." Xavier said nothing, waiting. "She's helping me understand why I did what I did." Tyler stared at his hands. "The truth is, I was jealous. You're naturally good at everything I have to struggle with. Science, math, it all comes easy to you." He looked up, meeting Xavier's eyes. "But that's not an excuse. Nothing excuses what I did." His voice cracked. "My dad lost his position on the board. My mom can barely look at me. Everyone at school hates me now. That's not my problem," Xavier said, finding his voice. "I know," Tyler nodded. "I'm not asking for forgiveness or friendship. I just needed you to hear directly from me that I'm sorry. Truly sorry." The sincerity in Tyler's voice surprised Xavier. Was this an act or genuine remorse? What about your friends? Xavier asked. Are they sorry too? Tyler shook his head. Some are. Others. He hesitated. Some of them are angry at you. They blame you for everything. Xavier tensed. That's why I came today, Tyler continued. To warn you. Jason and Ethan are talking about getting back at you. Xavier's father stepped forward. Are you threatening my son in our home? No. Tyler looked alarmed. I'm warning him. I'm not part of it. I don't want anyone else getting hurt. Xavier studied Tyler's face, searching for deceit but finding none. Thank you for the warning, he said finally. After Tyler left, Xavier felt confused. The boy who had tormented him for months had shown a completely different side. Monday arrived with thick tension. As Xavier walked through the school doors, conversation stopped. Eyes followed him. In first period, Jason and Ethan sat in the back, glaring at him. Tyler sat alone, avoided by everyone. By lunchtime, Xavier had received 3 anonymous threatening notes in his locker. Marco photographed each one. We're documenting everything, he assured Xavier. They can't touch you now. As they walked to the cafeteria, Jason and 3 other boys blocked their path. Think you're special now? Jason sneered. Got the whole school feeling sorry for you. Students around them fell silent, watching. Marco stepped forward. Back off, Jason. Haven't you learned anything? Shut up, Jason snapped. This is between us and the crybaby. Xavier felt a familiar fear rising, but something else rose alongside it. Determination. No, he said clearly. This isn't between us. It's between you and your own insecurities. Jason blinked, caught off guard. You're not bullying me because of who I am, Xavier continued, his voice growing stronger. You're doing it because of who you are. Someone so empty inside that hurting others is the only way you feel powerful. The hallway had gone completely silent. Everyone was listening. I felt sorry for myself for weeks, Xavier said. But now, I feel sorry for you. Jason's face flushed with anger. He stepped forward, fist clenched. Don't. Tyler appeared beside Xavier, positioning himself between his former friend and his former victim. It's over, Jason, Tyler said firmly. We were wrong. All of us. Jason looked from Tyler to Xavier, then at the crowd of students watching. Teachers had appeared in doorways, alerted by the commotion. Whatever, Jason muttered, backing away. You're both pathetic. As Jason and his friends retreated, students began to applaud. Someone patted Xavier's shoulder. Another gave him a thumbs up. Xavier turned to Tyler, confused. Why did you do that? Tyler shrugged uncomfortably. Maybe I'm trying to fix what I broke. It wasn't friendship. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was a beginning. Spring arrived at Westlake Middle School, bringing changes as vibrant as the season itself. The comprehensive anti-bullying program had transformed the school culture. Anonymous reporting systems were in place. Peer mediators roamed the hallways. Teachers had received specialized training. Xavier walked the corridors with a confidence he couldn't have imagined months earlier. Students who had once avoided eye contact now greeted him by name. His science project, rebuilt and improved, had won first place at the state competition. The NASA tour was scheduled for summer. But the biggest change wasn't the policies or the accolades. It was within Xavier himself. Ready for the assembly? Marco asked, adjusting his camera strap as they walked toward the auditorium. Xavier nodded. Today, Westlake was hosting students from other schools for a county-wide summit on bullying prevention. He and Marco would present their documentary, Silent No More, featuring interviews with bullying survivors. The project had started as Marco's idea, but Xavier had quickly become an equal partner, helping students tell their stories with dignity rather than as victims. Nervous? Marco asked. A little, Xavier admitted. Public speaking still isn't my favorite thing. Marco grinned. Says the guy who brought down the school's whole power structure with one speech. They entered the packed auditorium. Principal Whitman, who had narrowly kept his job after agreeing to extensive sensitivity training, introduced them with clear respect in his voice. As Xavier took the stage, he spotted familiar faces in the audience. Ms. Reynolds beamed with pride. His parents gave encouraging thumbs up. Even Tyler sat quietly in the back row. Their documentary played on the large screen, powerful in its honesty. When the lights came up, Xavier stepped forward. 6 months ago, I was lying on the ground behind the gym, surrounded by people who wanted to break me, he began. Today, I stand before you unbroken. The audience erupted in applause. But this isn't a story about bullies getting what they deserve, Xavier continued when the clapping subsided. It's about building communities where bullying can't thrive in the first place. He explained the changes at Westlake, not just policies, but mindsets. How students now intervened when they witnessed mistreatment. How teachers responded immediately to concerns. How even former bullies were finding new paths. After the presentation, students from other schools surrounded Xavier and Marco, asking how to implement similar changes in their own communities. As the crowd thinned, Tyler approached cautiously. Good job, he said, hands in his pockets. Really good. Their relationship remained complicated. Not friends, but no longer enemies. They had shared classes, occasional project work, and a mutual understanding that people can change, both the bullied and the bully. Thanks, Xavier replied. How's the tutoring program going? Part of Tyler's rehabilitation had involved becoming a tutor for struggling elementary school students. To everyone's surprise, he had excelled at it. It's good, Tyler said. Those kids, they don't know who I was. They just know who I am now. Xavier nodded, understanding the power of that distinction. Later that evening, Xavier stood in his backyard, telescope pointed at the night sky. The stars seemed brighter somehow, more accessible. His mother joined him, wrapping a sweater around her shoulders against the spring chill. Proud of you, she said simply. Xavier adjusted his telescope. I was just thinking about light years. She smiled. The distance light travels in a year? Yeah. The stars we're looking at right now, that light started traveling millions of years ago, through all that darkness, just to reach us. Xavier looked up from his telescope. Sometimes I felt like that light would never arrive, like the darkness would just keep going. His mother put her arm around him. But it always does arrive. That's what light does. It persists. Xavier nodded, thinking of all the students who had found their voices because he had found his. The ripple effects would continue long after he moved on from Westlake. NASA in 3 months, his mother reminded him. Your father is already planning the trip. Xavier smiled. His dream was becoming reality. But he had gained something even more valuable than a NASA tour. He had discovered his own gravity, his own ability to bend the world around him, not through force but through courage and truth. Like the stars he loved, Xavier had learned that sometimes making an impact meant shining your light across impossible distances and trusting it would eventually reach where it needed to go. That wraps the story up. What would you have done if you were in Xavier's shoes? Would you have spoken at the board meeting? Tell us in the comments. Since you made it all the way here, you're probably hooked, so why not subscribe for more stories just like this one? Go ahead and watch the next one. It's just as gripping.